Ask the ladies to rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10.
I'm at a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
Bro. Like, a 10. I'm a 10.
You're 10?
I'd say like 8. I don't know. You guys are selling yourself short.
Yeah, I'd probably say like 9. I feel like I'm just like some average blonde. I don't know.
Wait,
Like,
9?
yeah, well,
Average blonde,
Just
but
like-
9.
yeah, well, all blondes are like really pretty. Like, I think that like everybody should dye their hair blonde. I don't know. I just, like, for the summer, I don't know.
I think if you're ever going to rate yourself, you should always rate yourself a 10 because you become more attractive when you hear how a person thinks.
10.
Okay, so you're a 10.
Change, yeah.
Okay, she's a 10. I have some makeup remover here. Does anybody want to revise their answer?
So, we have a bunch of girls in a podcast who are asked to rate themselves. As you guessed, most of them think of themselves as solid 10s. Clearly, they're not. Even you can see that from the clip you just watched. And then the host pulls out a makeup remover and asks them again if they would like to revise their answer, and all of them sit quietly and look around. If you would ask a bunch of men to rate themselves, most of them would rate themselves somewhere between 5 and 8 at the most. This is because men are rational. They're not deluded about who they are, nor are they going to pretend to be a 10 when they themselves know they're a 5 or a 6. This is also a sign of respect for themselves and for the people they're around. This shows they're honest and are being honest about themselves. Can we say the same thing about modern women? Modern women clearly have no respect for men anymore, and I think the majority of guys have decided not to talk to these women because they have realized this. Men have made the decision to just refrain from any actions that enable women to treat them disrespectfully and to belittle them. Men have noticed that women's treatment of men has worsened over time. They have made the decision to put their name, integrity, and respect before the disdain and denigration that women have shown them. Seriously, I'd be much better off avoiding women myself because, I promise, I've heard tales of girls harassing women who then call the cops on them. Obviously, there was nothing wrong with the men. They just weren't as attractive or perhaps didn't make millions of dollars. So why then would I or anyone else subject themselves to anything like this? It is not logical. Additionally, I believe that a significant portion of women is simply no longer worth contacting. I believe women desire men's validation in public so they may flaunt it in their circles, embarrass the man, and feel validated, something they might lack in every aspect of their real life. Can one even approach modern women? Not under these circumstances. Men simply have had it with women's constant whining and unreasonable expectations. Women don't desire unattractive men. Anyone who drives a Honda or Toyota instead of the latest Tesla is not who they are looking for. They won't settle for a man who makes less than a certain amount of money. They keep cheating on men despite having everything they want. And they certainly don't want to approach guys, because, guess what? They can't seem to hold a basic conversation with strangers. I mean, that's what women say about men who approach them, right? So when the situation is flipped, it's the same with them. Men are now beginning to wake up and realize everything. They have no time to waste caring about women who are pointless to interact with. Women don't seem to be aware of how unfair the game is for men in general. I believe the reason is that males typically weigh the advantages and disadvantages of any decision before acting. The disadvantages of approaching women today outweigh the advantages by a wide margin. Today, approaching women nearly always results in humiliation, being called a weirdo, or just being ignored and socially shunned. Why? Because most males are perceived by women as predators or desperate men. They will be fine if they already know a guy and want him to contact them, but that is another matter. But it is simply not worthwhile for a male to approach an unidentified woman. There are too many risks: social embarrassment, total ignorance, and a generalized dread of rejection are just some of the reasons why men choose to avoid approaching women. We've previously talked about how most women feel entitled to everything there is in this world and everything that men can do and own. We've talked about how it's in the very nature of women to have this sense of entitlement, and that they truly believe men are born in this world just to make sure that they give everything to women for free and slave away their lives for the sake of these women. Now let's talk about how women feel entitled and expect men to help them and save them, even after they're divorced or raising kids on their own. But the surprising part here is that men all over the world have learned that helping such women only makes them more suspicious of you, or makes you look like a creep who's trying to flirt with a single woman, even when the man has zero such intentions. Women want help, but only from guys who are attractive. I guess women want everything in a man. And it's not just with men. They have unrealistic expectations from the world as well. They have unrealistic expectations from society, and they have unrealistic expectations from institutions. Modern women, and especially solo mothers, won't even acknowledge or respond when you start criticizing them for their stereotypical behavior and actions when you're with them. They are so good at bluffing their way through life. I believe that women are particularly skilled at the game of human poker, and hence at controlling how they want their men to be, act, and behave. And there's a reason why most of these women end up being divorced and now have to live without a male partner, expecting all other males to help them. When they say they had a past where the people they loved left them, and then they cling on to you and make you promise you'll never leave them, they're also trying to control you so that whenever you are out and about, you barely ever have any alone time. And any alone time that you want is going to seem like a burden on your relationship. Women plan a couple's whole lives out, including how they will live, where they will live, the parties they will attend, and the relatives they will visit on the weekends. Most women are unsure of how to react when a man offers his opinion because they haven't truly read the articles in Cosmopolitan that explain how guys are also human beings with individual goals in life. Men really need to understand that by accepting low-standard women, they're only lowering the standards of their lives. They're lowering their own potential, and they're lowering what they can achieve out of life. If men started valuing themselves as much as they value attractive women, there would be a lot more high-value men in the world today, and a lot fewer simps roaming around thirsting for women and giving them free attention and validation. The fact that women feel entitled might be understandable from some aspects, but the fact that they feel too entitled, which means they feel entitled just because that's how it is the topic of discussion and debate here. And it is even more so because society has jumped on the woke feminist bandwagon that calls for equality in every aspect of life, and yet still continues to support women to feel entitled to everything a man does, earns, and produces is just perplexing, to say the least. I hope that women realize the hypocrisy with which they live, expecting everything to be taken care of on one hand, and then marching the streets with banners for equality on the other. As I said, women's entitlement is unwarranted, and men really don't need to sugarcoat things for women anymore, because they've clearly got the wrong idea about their role in modern society. Men need to make sure to put a woman in her place if she makes any unwarranted or untrue claim based on her overly inflated ego and entitlement. For women, it's important to realize that being honest will go a long way for them, especially when it is to their perception of themselves. The more realistic they are, the more they're likely to be given the validation that they need. But the fact that they're so delusional and think of themselves as 10, when really everyone can see they're a 5 or a 7, just makes them look pretentious and entitled. Thanks for watching The Circle of Kings. Hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more debate on masculinity for kings.